Good afternoon. This is Kathleen Drew, Chair of the Energy Facility Site Evaluation, calling today's monthly meeting, May 17th, 2023, to order. Ms. Grantham, will you call the roll?
Certainly. Department of Commerce. Department of Ecology.
Eli Levitt, present.
Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Mike Livingston, present.
Department of Natural Resources.
Lenny Young, present.
Utilities and Transportation Commission.
Stacy Brewster, present.
For local government and optional state agencies, for the Horse Heaven Project, Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, Derek Sanderson, present.
Benton County, Ed Brost.
Ed Brost, present.
For the Badger Mountain Project, for Douglas County.
Jordan Julie of Douglas County.
For the Watoma Solar Project, for Benton County, Dave Sharp. For the Washington State Department of Transportation. For the Hop Hill Solar Project, for Benton County, Paul Kruprin. For the Carragher Solar Project, for Klickitat County.
Matt Childs, present.
The Assistant Attorney Generals, John Thompson.
John Thompson, present.
Janice Slocum.
Janice Slocum, present.
Administrative Law Judges, Adam Torum.
This is Judge Torum. I'm on the line.
Laura Bradley.
Judge Bradley won't make it today.
Thank you. And was that Dan Gerard?
It was. Thank you.
And Michael Larippa?
Judge Lurvett will also not make it today. Just me on behalf of OH.
Thank you. For EFSEC Council staff, Sonia Bumpus.
Sonia Bumpus is present.
Amy Hofgemeyer.
Present.
Amy Moon.
Amy Moon, present.
Stu Henderson. Joan Owens is present. Dave Walker. Sonia Scavland.
Sonia Scavland, present.
Lisa Massengale.
Lisa Massengale, present.
Sarah
Walker
Randolph.
Dave Walker is present. I couldn't get it off mute.
No problem. Thank you, Dave. Sarah Randolph.
Sarah Randolph, present.
Sean Green.
Sean Green, present.
Lance Caputo.
Lance Caputo, present.
John Barnes.
John Barnes, present.
Osta Davis. Joanne Snarsky.
Joanne Snarsky, present.
And Alex Shiley is present. For operational updates, Kittitas Valley Wind Project. Wild Horse Wind Power Project.
Actually, this is Sarah Randolph. I'll be speaking for both of those.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members, and staff. For the record, this is Sarah Randolph, site specialist.
Sarah, if you would pause just a minute, we were just doing roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
No worries. Thank you, Chair Drew. For Grace Harbor Energy Center.
For Grace Harbor Energy Center, Chris Sharon.
Chehalis Generation Facility.
Mike Adams, present.
Columbia Generating Station. Columbia Solar.
Thomas Cushing, present.
And do we have someone present for the Council for the Environment?
Megan Salome, present.
Thank you, Ms. Salome. Chair, there is a quorum for the regular council, Horse Heaven Council, Badger Mountain Council, and Carragher Solar Council. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is Kate Kelly. I apologize, I'm late. I'm present.
Thank you. Thank you. So moving on to our proposed agenda, you see the proposed agenda in front of you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Lenny Young, so moved.
Second?
Stacy Brewster, second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And agenda is adopted. Moving on to the meeting minutes. The first in front of us are the monthly meeting minutes from April 19th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the April 19th monthly meeting minutes.
Stacy Brewster, I move to approve the April 19th monthly meeting minutes.
Second,
Kate
Mike
Kelly,
Livingston,
second.
second.
thank you, Kate Kelly and Mike Livingston. I did not find any corrections. Are there any other corrections or changes to the April 19th, 2023 monthly meeting minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to the April 25th, 2023 Carragher Solar Informational Meeting Minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Matt Childs, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Lenny Young, second.
Thank you. The corrections I have, and I'll just make a statement up front, is I only was reviewing the those of us who were representing the council. I'm not trying to amend any comments from people who made comments to the meeting. So those will stand as they are written. But in several instances, we find that Eli Levitt was identified as the speaker when it was in fact another person. So on page 50, line 25, Eli Levitt should be Mike Alleritt. And on page 55, line 21, the speaker identified as Eli Levitt should be Judge Larippa. And on page 57, line 1, the speaker identified as Eli Levitt should be Kenneth McCune. So those are the changes I have to amend those Carragher Solar Informational Meeting Minutes. Are there any other changes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The meeting minutes are approved as amended. Moving on to the Kittitas Valley Wind Project update and Wild Horse Wind Power Project update, Ms. Sarah Reynolds.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members, and staff. For the record, this is Sarah Randolph, Site Specialist for Kittitas Valley Facility. I am speaking on behalf of Eric Malbardis. The facility update is available in your council packet. There are no non-routine updates for this reporting period.
Thank you. And then Wild Horse Wind Power Project, Sarah Randolph.
I am speaking on behalf of Jennifer Galbraith. The facility update is available in your council packet. There are no non-routine updates for this reporting period. Thank you.
Thank you. Chehalis Generation Facility, Mr. Adams.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, EFSEC, council, and staff. For the record, this is Mike Adams, plant manager representing Chehalis Generation Facility. Have one comment for the period of April. We did upgrade both of our continuous emission monitoring systems on each unit. We are currently in certification process that which should be completed next week with stack testing on those units. Otherwise, I have no non-routine comments.
Thank you. Grays Harbor Energy Center, Mr. Sharon.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members, staff. This is Chris Sharon, plant manager, Grace Harbor Energy Center. For the month of April, we had no non-routine items to report.
Thank you. Columbia Generating Station.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members, and staff. For the record, this is Felicia Nahara Paxton representing Columbia Generating Station and the Washington Nuclear Projects 1 and 4. For the month of April, we have no non-routine items to present.
Thank you. We do have another subject in front of us, an NPDES permit. Ms. Moon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is Amy Moon, EFSEC staff member. I'm providing an update on the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit at the Columbia Generating Station. I last provided an update on this project to the council at the February 15th, 2023 council meeting. Since that time, the public comment period closed on March 18th for the draft permit. And EFSEC worked with the Washington Department of Ecology to address the comments received and finalize the NPDES permit. The only comments were received from the Washington Department of Natural Resources and Energy Northwest. The Department of Natural Resources submitted a statement that Energy Northwest must obtain authorization for operations on state-owned aquatic land. This comment does not affect any specific NPDES permit condition and therefore was not added to the permit. The comments received from Energy Northwest were substantive and were addressed in the final NPDES. A copy of the final permit and the fact sheet were included in the May Council packet. The Columbia Generating Station has been operating under an administrative extension of the permit since September 13th, 2019. This administrative extension was granted at a time the Washington State Department of Ecology was not staffed with an NPDES permit writer to prepare the new permit that was set to expire on October 31st of 2019. The final permit included in the council packet has date placeholders that will be populated prior to issuing the permit. The permit effective date must be at least 30 days after the permit issuance date and should be effective on the first of a month for the permittee to meet the reporting requirements. For this reason, if the council approves the issuance of the NPDES permit, I suggest the issuance date be prior to May 31st, 2023 to accommodate an effective date of July 1st, 2023. Does the council have any questions?
Are there any questions from the council? And this permit has had the 30-day review and we have heard the comments. Are you recommending that the council make a motion on this item?
Yes, I'm recommending that the council make a motion to issue this final NPDES permit.
Thank you. Is there a motion to issue the NPDES permit for Columbia Generating Station?
This is Eli Levitt. I move to approve this NPDES permit.
Thank you. Second?
Casey Brewster, second.
Okay. Any comments? All those in favor of approving the NPDES permit for Columbia Generating Station, please say aye.
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 Did we have to say that it should have a date before May 31st? I'm sorry.
Well, if the most seamless way to issue this and have the effective date be July 1st would be for us to issue it before May 31st so that we can have, from June to July, that waiting period for it to be effective.
And with this motion, you will have that.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the NPDES permit is approved.
Thank you, Chair Drew, council members and staff. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Columbia Solar operational update. Mr. Cushing.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, EFSEC council and staff. This is Thomas Cushing representing Columbia Solar for the record. There is no non-routine items to report for operation.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the desert claim amendment update. Ms. Moon.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Drew and council members. Again, this is Amy Moon providing a project update on Desert Claim. EFSEC received a request to amend the Desert Claim Site Certification Agreement, or SCA, on May 5th of 2023 from EDF Renewables. The request was to extend the deadline for completing construction by 5 years to November 13th, 2028. The Desert Claim SCA is for a maximum, the Desert Claim SCA is for a maximum production capacity of 100 megawatts from 31 turbines. The extension request is to require construction to be substantially completed by November of 2028. The current SCA was initially executed February 1st, 2010, and amended by resolution number 343 on November 13th, 2018. The SCA amendment number 1 was to allow for the reconfiguration of the project site boundary and the installation of fewer but larger turbines than were originally authorized in the February 2010 SCA. The amended site certification agreement consists of 25 to 31 turbines not to exceed 492 feet in height and a total capacity of no more than 100 megawatts, a reduction from up to 95 turbines with a maximum capacity of 190 megawatts. That was the first change, the first amended SCA. The SCA amendment also reduced the total project footprint to approximately 4,400 acres with the removal of 1,271 acres. The signed SCA authorizes the certificate holder to construct the project such that substantial completion is achieved no later than 5 years from the date that amendment number 1 was approved by the council on November 13th, 2018. Therefore, the substantial completion date would be November 2023, or November 2023. EFSEC rule, Washington Administrative Code, or WAC 463-68-060, quote, review and reporting changes in the project status or site conditions, unquote, requires that if construction does not start within 5 years of the effective date of the SCA and thereupon continue in a reasonably uninterrupted fashion towards project completion, the certificate holder shall report to the council its intention to proceed or not to proceed with the project at least 90 days prior to the end of the SCA 5-year period. The receipt of the request to amend the Desert Claim SCA on May 5th, 2023 from EDF Renewables met the conditions of notification required under WAC 463-68-060. WAC 463-68-070, known as Review of Changes, states that construction may start only upon the council finding that no changes or amendments to the SCA, regulatory permits, or project-related environmental documents are necessary or appropriate, or upon the council's approval of any necessary or appropriate changes or amendments. Does the council have any questions?
Are there any questions? So in terms of this amendment, are you going to brief us on what the next steps are?
So the next steps would be for the council to either approve or not approve for pursuing the change or to create an amendment number 2. And so if I am directed to pursue amendment number 2, then I would be drawing up the information for that amendment to be put before the council and you, Chair Drew. And with that, it's ensuring that if anything additional needed to be done to meet the requirements of the law, that would be done. And since these aren't, the only change of this is a date, I do not think that there's anything further required, let's say for SEPA. Which means that this is, and maybe John Thompson, if you know different, can interrupt here, but basically this is just a request to extend this project date, the substantive completion date, by another up until 2028.
Ms. Hofkemeyer?
I just wanted to jump in. I believe because it is a request for an amendment, there is a public informational meeting associated with the request as well. So that
Yes.
staff is working to schedule.
Yes, you're correct. Thank you, Amy.
And because it is an amendment that came to us, I guess what I'm curious about that I'm hearing is that we can either move forward with it or not. And I thought we had to at least consider it. The amendment.
Yeah, so the WAC 46368-070 review of changes says that construction can only start upon the council finding that no changes or amendments to the SCA, or upon council's approval of any necessary or appropriate changes or amendments. So the change here would be that completion date, that substantive completion date.
Okay. So our next steps then would be to schedule a public meeting, informational meeting, and hear from the public about this item.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, okay. That would be the next step. Okay, that's what I had remembered from the earlier processes. So the staff is working on that and will get back to us. So there isn't a decision to be made at this meeting or until we hear from the public on the matter.
Correct. This is for information so that you know we received that request, and a little history on the project, since most people on the current EFSEC council were not involved at all with Desert Claim. There's a couple people that were, but the majority were not. So bringing people just up to speed of that we have a Desert Claim site certification agreement, construction has not been started, and a request was made to extend that date for substantial completion.
Okay. Any other questions from council members?
Chair, this is Kate Kelly. And I'm glad we're going to have more time to kind of contemplate what's being asked here through a hearing and other advice from EFSEC staff and council. But I guess I'm particularly interested in any cumulative impact in terms of land use and so on. And I wasn't here when this was originally proposed or amended the first time. So, but just understanding what literally the lay of the land is, and if that needs to be taken into account. I just noticed that it's in Kittitas County.
Yes. Okay. So noted. We'll make sure that we get some information to the council, perhaps another a little bit longer briefing on the history of the project would be in good order because of the fact that the council isn't familiar with that amendment from 2018. Ms. Hofkemeyer, did you have something else you'd like to share?
Oh, I also just wanted, if the council had any questions for the certificate holder, I believe they're also on the line, or we could anticipate a longer presentation on the proposal at the informational hearing.
Let's do that. Because I think it's better for the council to have that information to ask questions from. Thank you. Okay, moving.
Chair,
Go ahead.
excuse me. Sorry, Chair Drew, this is Sonia Bumpus. I just wanted
Yes.
to add, just for the council, that there are some documents on land use consistency that go back to the original record for Desert Claim, and that may be something that'd be helpful for council members to take a look at. some of that information's on our website. There's an order 825 on land use consistency, but there's also some other documents they may be interested in. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll learn more about this project and look forward to the scheduling of the public meeting. Horse Heaven Wind Farm project update, Ms. Moon.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Drew and EFSEC council members. Again, this is Amy Moon providing an update on the Horse Heaven Wind project. EFSEC staff continued work on the preparation of the final environmental impact statement, or final EIS. This included submitting data request number 8 to the applicant on May 8th, 2023 for additional information on air quality and visual simulations. EFSEC staff continue to actively engage with Washington state agencies regarding potential impact analysis and mitigation opportunities. EFSEC staff are working with the applicant to establish an updated commitment date to complete the processing of the Horse Heaven application for site certification. This new date is referred to as the extension date, as defined in the revised Code of Washington 80.50.100, that requires that, quote, the council shall report to the governor its recommendations as to the approval or rejection of an application for certification within 12 months of receipt by the council of such an application or such later time as is mutually agreed by the council and the applicant, end quote. The current date to report to the governor is set as July 8th of 2022. Does the council have any questions? I mean, yes, I'm sorry, 2023. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wrong year. I'm in the past. So does the council have any questions about that?
So we don't have an extension request to consider at this point. Is that?
Yeah, correct. We're working with the applicant on establishing a realistic commitment date, because we're still working on the final environmental impact statement, taking into account public comments, agency comments, and then adjudication has been scheduled. So there's a couple parts here: the final EIS, the adjudication, the time necessary for the council to review the final EIS, and then make a recommendation to the governor. So working on strategizing and trying to take all of this into account. And part of that is taking into account an analysis that is being worked on but has not yet been completed that's required for the final EIS. So as of today, we do not have an agreed upon extension date with the applicant.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Ms. Moon before we go to the adjudication update?
I have a question. This is Ed Brost.
Yes.
What is the reason for the extension, or what has caused the extension request? It's just taken longer than they thought, or what?
Well, the reason is yes, the whole process is lengthy, and it's hard when you're working on something. So the last extension that was granted was during the draft EIS. It's hard to judge or guess what kind of public comments and agency comments that was going to bring about. And so in looking at those comments, definitely July 8th is not an adequate time to vet and provide an answer and to update the final environmental impact statement.
And I would add that our adjudication is planned for after that date. And so the date would be give the council, the staff, the time to complete the EIS, the council the time for adjudication and consideration of the issues and deliberation before a recommendation to the governor. Is that helpful, Mr. Brost? Okay. Any other questions for staff? Moving on to the adjudication update, Ms. Hofkemeyer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Drew, Council, and staff. For the record, this is Amy Hofkemeyer. On Tuesday, May 2nd, a third pre-hearing conference was held. Following that conference, EFSEC staff are working with Judge Torum to prepare and issue an order for filing dates, a protection order, and will also be issuing instructions for the filing protocols. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions on the adjudication update?
This is Stacy Brewster. Following that pre-hearing conference, are we closer to setting dates for the adjudication?
Yes, it's my understanding that at the third pre-hearing conference, the parties were informed of the adjudication dates and came to agreement on slightly different pre-filing dates than what EFSEC staff had drafted. And so we will be seeing those dates in an order in the coming days, very shortly from Judge Torum.
Thanks.
Yeah, and this is Judge Torum. I can just tell the council members you'll be seeing the first round of testimony being filed. I believe it's June 2nd. And the hearing itself, the adjudication, will take place over a number of days in August. And hopefully your calendars, as they were cleared by your submissions for unavailability, we're going to start the adjudication on Thursday, August 10th and Friday, August 11th. The following week, there'll be 2.5 additional days. August 14th is Monday, August 15th, Tuesday, and then simply taking a break in the afternoon on Wednesday, the 16th of August, so that we can have a hearing adjudication session in the morning and then the monthly council meeting in the afternoon. If there's anything further to be done Wednesday afternoon, the 16th, it won't be involving council members, but maybe some other housekeeping issues to look at the following week's schedule. August 21st through August 25th will be the other 5 days of adjudication. So hopefully those are on your calendar. They'll be the bulk of the day. We're breaking it up because it's virtual into 2 or 3 sessions each day so that no one gets too much of a screen watch headache, and we'll go on from there. But in the pre-hearing conference order that should come out later this week, all of the other dates leading up to the adjudication will be published as well. So look for those.
Thank you, Judge Torum. Other questions? Okay. Moving on to Goose Prairie Solar Project update, Sarah Randolph.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members, and staff. For the record, this is Sarah Randolph, site specialist for the Goose Prairie facility. EFSEC staff are continuing to receive and review documents being sent by the certificate holder for pre-construction plans, with construction planned to commence on June 1st. Goose Prairie Solar is requesting coverage under a general construction stormwater permit that was submitted by the certificate holder March 2nd. In accordance with WAC 463-7641, a 30-day comment period began on April 20th and will conclude on May 20th. There has been one comment received to date that would not result in changes to the letter of coverage. The certificate holder and their consultant will be on the phone if there are any questions. Are there any questions?
Any questions on the Goose Prairie Solar Project update? Thank you. Moving on to the Badger Mountain Project update, Joanne Snarsky.
Thank you, Chair Drew, and good afternoon, council members. For the record, this is Joanne Snarsky. Since the April council meeting, we have received responses to data requests 1 and 2. After receiving the initial response from the applicant, our consultants have requested further clarification to several of the applicant's responses, which we are referring to as data request 3. We anticipate a response to data request 3 on June 16th. Included in the applicant's response to us was completion of initial drafts for a traffic impact study along with a traffic control plan. We are coordinating review of these documents with the Washington State Department of Transportation and Douglas County. The applicant has also submitted a revised draft of the Cultural Resources Survey, which is currently under review by EFSEC and our contracted agencies. The information provided in response to these data requests shall be used to support the development of the draft environmental impact statement that is currently in progress. Finally, on May 11th, staff, along with Chair Drew and Director Bumpus, met with the Colville Confederated Tribes Business Council. This meeting was conducted as government-to-government consultation, and Chair Drew has more information to share with the council about this meeting. Would you like to do that now, Chair?
Thank you. I will. As you're aware, council members, EFSEC statute under RCW 8050 requires the chair to conduct government-to-government consultation with affected tribes during the review of an energy project application. And the chair must provide an update to the council on such project consultation efforts. Since EFSEC received the Badger Mountain application in October 2021, EFSEC's been in communication with the Colville tribe to coordinate the review of the initial cultural resources survey report and to arrange a formal government-to-government tribal consultation meeting. After much planning on May 4th, 2023, the chair and EFSEC staff met with the Colville Tribal Business Council in Nispelem, Washington, for the purpose of conducting formal tribal consultation on the Badger Mountain application for site certification. The staff and I were honored to meet with Colville Tribal Business Council, where we discussed the tribe's concerns regarding this proposal. We shared an open and honest discussion and agreed that both EFSEC and the Colville tribe could expand on our technical coordination, which we believe is particularly important as EFSEC prepares the Badger Mountain draft EIS over the next several months. So we have asked them to review documents as we prepare that EIS and look forward to their participation. Are there any questions?
Chair Drew, I did want to make a clarification on my statement that I said that meeting took place on May 11th, but I think you corrected that in your statement. It did take place on May 4th.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So with no questions on those items, moving on to the High Top and Ostria project update. Ms.
Chair Drew.
Randolph.
Thank you.
Back again.
Chair Drew, council members and staff, for the record, this is Sarah Randolph, site specialist for High Top and Austria facilities. EFSEC staff are coordinating with the certificate holder on submission of pre-construction plans and schedules. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Thank you. Watoma Solar Project update, Mr. Caputo.
Thank you, Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is Lance Caputo, siting specialist for the Watoma Solar Facility. On Friday, May 12th, EFSEC, in conjunction with staff members from the Department of Ecology, conducted a site inspection of the proposed Watoma Power Facility. We are continuing to coordinate with the applicant and stakeholders. Currently, the applicant is collecting additional information requested by EFSEC and the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation to support a SEPA threshold determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Hop Hill Solar Project update, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is John Barnes, EFSEC staff for the Hop Hill application. Update for April. EFSEC met with the applicant and WDFW to determine study procedures for upcoming field studies that are currently being conducted or will be completed later this spring and summer. These include procedures to survey area, baseline wildlife and habitat surveys, ground-based raptor nest surveys, rare plant surveys. EFSEC or EFSEC staff obtained a project production information request from Mr. Paul Crouppen, EFSEC Benton County representative, about production information at the public informational meeting on February 23rd. This information has been obtained from the applicant and sent to Mr. Crouppen and council for review. This information has also been updated to the Hop Hill project page. EFSEC has received from the applicant an updated site plan. The applicant discovered that direct impacts to site HHS-11 were being incorrectly depicted in the preliminary site plan. The applicant sent a letter to update the preliminary site plan to reflect avoidance of site HHS-11. This information has been updated to the Hop Hill project page for your review. Yesterday, May 16th, EFSEC sent to the applicant the first data request and letter requesting a 30-day response time for comment. The applicant is currently revising the Hop Hill application cultural report to reflect comments provided by DAP and Yakama Nation Cultural Resource Program staff. We are continuing to coordinate and review the application with our contractor, contracted agencies, and tribal governments. There are no other updates to report on this time at this time. Are there any questions?
Chair Drew, I believe your mic is not on.
So two things I said. One, on the record here so people can actually hear me, was that DAP refers to the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. Not everybody's familiar with that acronym for the Hop Hill Solar Update by Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Drew.
Now we're moving on to the Carragher Solar Project Update, Ms. Snarsky.
Thank you, Chair Drew. Again, this is Joanne Snarsky for the record. Cypress Creek Renewables submitted their application for expedited processing on February 10th, 2023. On April 25th, 2023, we held the public informational hearing at the Goldendale Grange Hall. We held the land use hearing, consistency hearing for the proposed project last night, May 16th, 2023. The meeting was held virtually with the option to call in with testimony. In addition to the applicant's testimony, 2 county commissioners provided testimony, along with 11 citizens from the area. There were 2 additional that were signed up, but apparently didn't show up to present. We are currently reviewing the testimony given, and we will provide guidance from that review and our legal counsel at a future meeting so the council can make a land use determination. Additionally, on May 9th, 2023, staff submitted data request 1 to the applicant. This supplemental information is needed to help us better assess potential impacts from the project and work toward completing the State Environmental Policy Act review in order to make a SEPA threshold determination on the project. Both the SEPA threshold determination and the land use consistency determination must be completed prior to the council's decision on whether or not to grant the applicant's request for expedited processing. It is important to note that June 10th, 2023 is the deadline for meeting the 120-day decision for expedited processing. At this time, we believe it will be necessary for the council to vote on an extension for that decision, and a special meeting will likely be scheduled for early June. EFSEC staff will be reaching out for your availability to hold this special meeting. Are there any questions for me?
Are there any questions from council members?
Yeah, Joanne, this is Lenny Young. This may be a minor question, but over the last couple of meetings, I've heard numerous people pronounce the name of the solar project in two different ways, Carragher and Carragher. Is there a correct accepted pronunciation?
Well, have never been good in English, but I have even heard people within Cypress Creek pronounce it differently. So I think it's a preference thing. Either way is working so far. I'm sorry, I can't be clearer.
That's kind of my impression as well. Thank you.
Any other questions? So with the information gained from the meeting last night, we will look forward to analysis by the staff and by legal counsel on land use consistency, which I want to emphasize is one part of a decision for expedited processing that's required, and we don't know what the council will do at this point. And the other piece is the SEPA determination. In addition to that, we would look if the council determines that the project is consistent, we will consider all of the concerns raised about conditional use within the Klickitat County Code at a point later in our review. So our review has multiple steps. And I just wanted to make that clear both to the council and to the public that we are at the beginning of the review and there are multiple steps to come. So we look forward to continuing review and analysis and bringing that back to the council.
Chair Drew, this is Lenny Young again.
Yes.
One of the persons who testified at the land use hearing last night raised a point that I'm not sure it's directly related to land use consistency, but I was hoping staff could look into it. And this person asserted that staff is aware of it, may have already consulted with Office of the Attorney General. And that was the assertion that there is a deed restriction on some of the parcels that may be involved in the project, and that the deed restriction would prevent those parcels, irrespective of any of EFSEC's jurisdiction, would prevent those parcels from being used for solar. Could staff include looking at that particular matter in their analysis and come back to the council with that?
I am looking to Mr. Thompson.
Yes, I heard that that comment as well, and we can certainly include that in our analysis.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Are there any other questions or comments from council members?
This is Matt Childs, and I think that there were a couple commenters suggesting that EFSEC staff visit the site in person, and I would like to emphasize that that's probably a good idea for the credibility of EFSEC amongst the community for this project. Thank you.
I will answer first and then I'll ask Amy Hofkemeyer to also add to that. We do plan to have a site visit. I do believe staff has been there, but the council will have a site visit. We do schedule a site visit for the council for each of our new projects. So that definitely will be on the agenda. As I laid out, we have many steps left for the review. So oftentimes when we get either a SEPA determination, that's when we will then look at the site with that information in hand so that we have some of that environmental analysis performed by our consultant and staff when we are on site. Ms. Hofkemeyer, would you like to add to that?
Yes, in part to echo what you just said, Chair Drew, we have a few sites that the council has not yet seen in person. And so staff will be scheduling site visits for the council. Staff have been to each of the sites, and we do like to try and schedule site visits for the council associated with project milestones so that the council can have the site in mind as they're reviewing those documents. And because having the council together for the site visit constitutes a quorum, they will be noticed as public meetings and logistics and details announced along with that information as well for the public.
Does that help answer your question, Mr. Childs?
Yes, thank you very much. And as I occasionally field questions from people in the grocery stores, I can let them know that. Thank you.
Yes, very, very much on the logistics. And again, they will be publicly noticed for people to also attend as well. But there'll be public meetings for the council to see the site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council members?
Chair Drew, this is Judge Torum. I just wanted to jump in and make a correction on the Horse Heaven project as far as the first date for pre-filed testimony. I said June 2nd earlier. I just misread my notes. I had the 2 right, but it's actually June 12th. And I just want to make sure any of the parties that were on the line didn't think it got accelerated by 10 days. So it's really June 12th that we'll see the first round of pre-filed testimony.
Thank you for your clarification on that, Judge Torum. So we have come to the end of our meeting, and at this point, we very much have a full agenda. I encourage council members to contact our EFSEC staff if you have questions about any of these projects, or you can contact Ms. Hofkemeyer, myself, or Ms. Bumpus as well. So I know there was a lot of information put out to you today, so please let us know if there's more that we can provide to you and any clarifications. With that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your time.